On the evening of June 23rd, I was sitting in my living room in Wheeling, preparing for my July session at Gettysburg Seminary. I knew that Paul and Robert, along with more than 300 of their favorite people, were enjoying their week at Camp Luther. Or at least I thought they were. I had been so focused on getting ready for my intensive classes that I hadn't turned the TV on for several days. And I was shocked when Paul texted to tell me that day that the camp was being evacuated because of flooding. As the camp prepared to evacuate to higher ground, I jumped into executive director mode. First, I reached out to Bishop Matt, and then to camp director Jason, and finally to VOAD chair Jenny Ganaway. VOAD is Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster. Jenny and I have been working together in disaster recovery since 2012. That night, we attempted to get cots from the Red Cross to the church where the campers and staff were being evacuated, only to find out that there was no way in and there was no way out of that area. Jenny shared with me that this was the case all over the central and lower part of the state. We knew that this flood event would be unlike any other in our history due to the scope. We knew that it was going to take more people, more time, more financial resources than ever before to be able to help our neighbors recover. Over the next few days, 44 counties were placed under a state of emergency. By the time the waters receded, 12 of those counties received FEMA declarations due to the level of devastation. The Synods' participation began with this post on Facebook. The flooding in West Virginia is serious. A total of 44 counties have been declared a state of emergency. We will be needing muck-out teams, assessment teams, construction teams, chainsaw teams, etc. If you can help, please contact Sherry and she will coordinate with West Virginia VOAD. Please do not coordinate your own relief team without notifying Sherry and going through proper channels. The first official CLP team to head out was led by Pastor Nathan Hall, who served at Emmanuel Lutheran in Biddington, Maryland. As they headed to Clendenin, they were sent with this blessing. May the roads stay firmly where they belong. May the wind provide gentle, spirit-filled refreshment as you work. May the sun shine warm upon your sunscreen-protected, dust mask-covered faces. May the rain cease for now so recovery can begin. And as you head into the mission field, may all those whom you encounter experience the love of Christ as you humbly serve in his name. Amen. Pastor Ian Reed and his team from First Lutheran in Parkersburg joined this team a few days later for the first step in the recovery effort, Muck Out. In early July, Pastor Hall and his team headed back to Clendenin for a second round of mucking out. This time they were joined by Kathy and Paula from Christ the King in Barbersville. When a disaster happens, the first response most folks have is to donate. Several collections were started around the Synod. CLP picked up 1+ kits from St. James Lutheran in Wheeling, who had been storing them for us, and did a quick check to make sure everything was in date. In July, kits from Holy Trinity in Sharpsburg would be added to the collection. The Seeing Hand Association in Wheeling held a special donation drive and sold mops, which were then donated to Southern West Virginia. Tammy, a member of Christ Lutheran in Wheeling and an assistant manager at Walmart, worked with CLP to hold a collection at their Highlands location. Community Lutheran Partners contacted Appalachian Outreach located in Glendale, and we partnered together to deliver the mops, 1+ kits, and Walmart donations to the flood-affected areas. Congregations around the Synod were holding their own donation drives. An example was Cindy Murphy and Darla Stemple from the Aurora Red House Parish collecting and delivering materials to Clay County. And Ken and Dennis from the Capon River Parish held a collection for Greenbrier County. They managed to stretch their Thrivent Action Team dollars into thousands of dollars worth of donations. Pastor Emily Theobald Rollins stopped by Wheeling on her way to Parkersburg one day and picked up a load of 1+ kits and delivered them to the Elkview Volunteer Reception Center. COLP was overwhelmed by all the folks offering to give of their time and to help their neighbors in need. One issue that came to the forefront early on was the need for spiritual care. Jeff Allen, the director of the West Virginia Council of Churches, put out a plea for pastors who could help by volunteering in the disaster volunteer centers. These pastors were available for the families coming in to register for FEMA and other services, as well as the overwhelmed and overworked volunteers at the center. We would like to thank those who registered with the Council of Churches to provide pastoral care. Pastor Sally Bartling, Pastor Wanda Childs, Pastor Kevin Mackey, Pastor Drew McCaffrey, Pastor Ian Reed, Pastor Randy Richardson, Bishop Matthew Regal, Pastor Christine Rotella, Pastor Bob Schaefer, and Pastor Emily Theobald Rollins. Also helping out during this time was the Mountaineer Therapy Dog Team, led by our own Synod Administrative Assistant Barbara and her 4-legged family member Brenda Lee. Throughout the summer and early fall, teams continued to visit the state, and donations continued to pour in. One of the first out-of-state volunteer teams that CLP worked with was from Washington, Pennsylvania. Pastor Rotella and her team spent a week working in Greenbrier County. During this time, the agency continued to receive donations from churches in the Synod like Christ Lutheran in Wheeling and Grace Lutheran in Friendsville, Maryland, as well as other congregations in neighboring synods, such as Grace Lutheran in Steubenville, Ohio. And folks like Kara Lee continued to partner with CLP to deliver goods to the affected areas, as well as organize teams for the work of recovery. Kara Lee works for a school in Lewis County that adopted the community of Beaumont. They made several trips to the area with large teams of volunteers for mission work and with truckloads of donations. Others who have come to help include All Shepherds from Columbus, Ohio, Grace Lutheran from Waynesboro, Virginia, Lutheran Church of the Resurrection in Cincinnati, Ohio. They brought along a special helper for the week. A team from the West Virginia Western Maryland Synod returned in October to help with the rebuilding effort. This was Pastor Hall's 3rd trip to the affected areas and probably his last. Community Lutheran Partners will miss him and wishes him well as he begins his new call. Our largest group to date was in Webster County in May. Pastor Glenn Beard coordinated a mission group from the Lower Susquehanna Synod that numbered more than 50. My instructions from the group was that they were hard-working Dutch who wanted to go to bed each night tired. And from what I have heard, that mission was accomplished. Campus ministry organizations have also reached out to help. The campus ministry team from Wittenberg University helped with flood relief by working at the Appalachian Outreach Warehouse in Glendale in November. Appalachian Outreach gathers donations in the northern panhandle of West Virginia and makes regular deliveries to southern West Virginia. The Lutheran Campus Ministry in Greater Pittsburgh, under the direction of Pastor Brian Bennett, traveled to Webster County for their spring break. And a team of more than 100 students from St. Olaf visited the area in April and worked in several communities over their spring break. Although Community Lutheran Partners did not directly coordinate this group, Board President Pastor Carl Ames met with the group and welcomed them to the Synod and thanked them for their service. We are so grateful to all the teams that have helped our residents begin to rebuild their lives, and we look forward to more teams arriving through the summer and fall months. So many have reached out to help in so many different ways. Congregations like Luther Chapel in Coral, Pennsylvania, Emmanuel Lutheran in Benninger, Maryland, St. Paul in Morgantown, and the Aurora Red House Parish, just to name a few, donated quilts and blankets. As families move back into their homes or into their new tiny homes, West Virginia VOAD provides them with quilts and a 1+ kit from Community Lutheran Partners. Throughout it all, CLP continued to partner with other West Virginia VOAD agencies. An important partner in our relief efforts, as I mentioned before, is Appalachian Outreach. When the donations would overrun the CLP office, we would call Appalachian Outreach, who would pick up the donations for delivery downstate. Community Lutheran Partners also helped to provide West Virginia VOAD with administrative help early on. Cray and Linda spent time helping, as did Lois, Cindy, and others. Along with the material donations that we have received, individuals, congregations, and synods have been incredibly generous with financial resources. Community Lutheran Partners has received over $100,000 in financial donations specifically designated to the flood recovery effort. We had used some of the funds to work with the Appalachian Center for Independent Living to rebuild wheelchair ramps and install assistive devices that were damaged in the flood. Early in the disaster, we provided 30 professional quality moisture meters for use in the early stages of recovery. These will be kept on the West Virginia VOAD tool trailer and will be available for future disasters. We are currently providing funds to long-term recovery groups as they find unmet needs in their community. Community Lutheran Partners is also grateful for the support of Lutheran Disaster Response. Late in 2016, we provided 3 trainings for disaster case management thanks to funding provided by LDR. We received 1 grant from them to help fund 3 part-time positions for disaster case managers early in the recovery effort. The agency will be applying for funds this summer to help fund 2 Camp Noah experiences for the young people affected by the flood. One is scheduled for Greenbrier County, and a second is being planned in Roane County. Along the way, valuable lessons have been learned, like when a disaster strikes, clothing donations may be well-meaning, but take up way too much space and way too many volunteer hours to sort and distribute. And perhaps the most important, never, ever head into a disaster area with less than half a tank of gas. We love you, Paula and Kathy. There is no way to adequately thank everyone for all that has been done in the aftermath of the flood of June 23, 2016. Over 9,200 homes were either damaged or destroyed and registered through FEMA, and they are still finding people who didn't have the resources to register. Businesses and schools were damaged and or destroyed. Through the efforts of West Virginia VOAD's leadership, the agencies which make up West Virginia VOAD, and the long-term recovery groups, along with the volunteers, progress is being made. Damaged homes are being rehabbed, new homes are being moved into, possessions are being replaced, and bridges are being rebuilt. For some, life is starting to return to normal, yet others are patiently waiting. Through your continued support and prayers, Community Lutheran Partners will be there until the end of the recovery effort, partnering with others to help all those affected by the floodwaters find their new normal. Thank you, and God bless you, each and every one, for all that you have done.